if this instrument of law was not there in our society, what the society would have been, how it would work, whether it's any educational institution, whether it's any political institution, whether it's any law institute, how it would work, everything would have been haywire. So, keeping all this in view, I'm sure that the present seminar, as Professor Nauchu said, there will definitely be some of the recommendations which will come forward. I'm sure that it will be a great learning experience for the students, for the research scholars, and all the participants who are taking, putting their efforts and giving their time to this seminar. It's very important that we do debates on these types of legal developments. Social change is a continuous process, and it affects our social dynamics. We know that, whether it's our relationship, human relationship, whether it's professional relationship, it affects the relationship whenever the social change take place. Similarly, the type of topic that has been chosen, law, justice, social change in the globalized world, we see, we are very much, this is the time of globalization, and we very much see how social change is taking place in the globalized world so rapidly, and law and justice are its very important components. And internationally, how we can see how the countries are involved in different social justice measures. But very important one, which Professor Nauchu pointed out, was about the environment, of which again we as the educational institutes are very much aware of it, and time and again we deliberate upon the environmental policies, research policies, and other policies wherever we can make our a point to be very much visible, and try to give our input over there. My point of advocacy has always been gender justice, so definitely I'll talk something about it. We can well imagine, if the laws were not there, what would be the plight of women in this society. Your Domestic Violence Act, your other acts which protect the women, we are very much aware of it, and that's why I say what the world would be without this instrument of law. But again, for you people, for the researchers, for the students of law, to make this instrument more viable, and to make this instrument, I must say, instrument of justice, it depends on our learning situations, it depends on our training, and I'm sure that our faculty of law, we have very good faculty over there, is training our youth very well, so that tomorrow they can be our ambassadors of law and give justice to our society. With these words, once again, congratulations to the faculty of law and to the organizers and to the students for organizing a very important seminar, which I am sure will make some change somewhere, and must be a very good learning experience for the students. Thank you very much.
In fact, while going through the title of the topic, it reminded me of my own subject. We have a subject of social change, and it's a crucial topic it used to be a critical and crucial topic in the subject of sociology. But to be honest with you, that when we talk about the different agendas of social change in our subject, we have never thought of probably I am a student rather, but the theorists and the thoughts which have given the sociology, I seldom see that there is a mention of law as an agent of social change. We do discuss that there are education, economy, other things we take as strong agents of the social change. But going through the today's topic and title, and also a brief which has been prepared by the Department of Law, I can say that law, then justice, and then social change, they are quite interrelated, and they are quite strong agendas also they can prove. When we talk of the law and when we talk of the justice, then and the justice to be delivered then to the societal norms, they can bring a great change, a social change. We normally say that the society is always, they are never static, they are dynamic, and every aspect which is a positive aspect, though there are certain negative aspects which also which affect the change, but always we see the positive aspects, particularly when the justice delivered or justice given, and they will definitely bring a tremendous social change in the society. We say that the world has now changed into a global village, which is at present because of the transformation at every level. So we see now new things have come up, new issues have come up, and we see, for example, the cyber law. Probably earlier it was not a subject even, and it has a great potential to change the society. Then we see the laws of extradition also from one country to another country. So there are laws and there is justice to be which is to be delivered and which is to be implemented then, which will definitely bring a tremendous social change. And I hope that the subjects which are different subjects, for example, sociology, social work, and one studies, these are the subjects which need to incorporate a portion of this syllabi from the law to in their curriculum, which will definitely help them. At the University of Kashmir, under the leadership of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, we see that we also try to do justice at every level, whether it is the justice for gender, whether it is the justice for development of any department. We try to do the justice, and we try to also that will help in a change. Rather, it will ultimately help in a social change, because when we see that the education is the best agent of any social change in any society, and if our students, our scholars are best trained, best pass out, best they are employed anywhere or they are adjusted on proper and suitable places, they will definitely help in a greater change, in a positive change in the societies.
As we all know, law is basically an instrument of social reform. What laws were or what laws are, at present there is a gradual change. What acts, what themes or what predictive parameters were followed, they are getting modified. What the laws were in vogue when I was a student, what the laws were in vogue when I was a scholar, and what the laws at present are, there is a huge change in majority of laws. They are being modified as per, I will quote that we actually to modify the laws, wherein laws should not always be behind times. They should always be in front of the times. That means we should have a progressive law. We should never have a concept of a retrogressive law which will head towards the back eras. And in majority of the subjects and themes that we have seen that are being assessed in terms of legalities, we have seen majority of acts are being reformed. Some of the acts that have been backbone of my work, that have been backbone of the development of Kashmir as a whole, have been a concern, not only of me, but people from my law school, Ayub Saab and Hussain Saab. We had certain acts which were sustaining and maintaining whatever we had inherited. Like we had an act known as COT Act of Protection. That was the backbone of maintaining the diversity of resources of medicinal plants that we had, which was backbone of economy of Kashmir. Up to 71, it was not in vogue, but after 71, it was implemented in toto, barring anybody from collecting, trading, or harvesting plants for commercial purposes. However, when the demand increased, when different tribal communities tried to see what is the outcome of using those resources, they enforced the government to modify the act. An act of protection was modified where they gave a legal right to the tribal community members to harvest plants, trade them, without bothering about what could be the net outcome of that. And we see now, because of the initially it was abolished fully, but then re-implemented in a slightly modified form. And they gave tribal communities a right of harvesting and trading these medicinal plants. And what we see, a rich repository of medicinal plants in Kashmir, because of modification of COT Act, is now seeing literally extinction of majority of those resources. We have documented distribution, status, etc. of all the medicinal plants. Because of abolition of this act, we have seen majority of those plants are under threat. Botany department had a SAP program for 10 years worth almost 2.5 crore rupees. And what we documented in that document, we had to mention how many of these plants have now become almost extinct in the natural habitats. What was that due to? That was due to the modification of act. And this protective law was in turn modified in a way in which to please certain tribal community members who can vote, please don't take it otherwise, who can vote for a particular group so that they can be part of a particular setup. And these changes are continuing. In certain cases, modification law is always a progressive development, but in some cases we have seen that modification of laws is actually also showing some sort of negligence, retrogression in terms of developmental issues. And these changes in turn are to be assessed in toto as to what could be the impact of these. We are part of a community. Forget about being a student of law, being a student of science. I should in turn consider every legal issue as a part of my own setup. I should also take these issues seriously, that if an act is modified, if a regulation is modified, what could be the impact of that regulation's modification? And how I, as a person from science stream, can also highlight what is the negativity of that particular abolition or modification. I should not simply say that this is not my issue, this is an issue of the Department of Law or legal cell. It is always my issue also. Such seminars, such workshops will actually educate not only students from science stream and law stream, but almost all the common citizens of Kashmir as to what the impact of the modification of that law or act could be. Hope what the deliberations lead us to will be in turn shared with people or with the communities. We can try to understand what the recommendations are. Otherwise, organizing these seminars, workshops, conferences, etc., without sharing the outcome, the results are not as appreciable as they can be. We should always highlight what the findings are.
Well, when we look at the globalized milieu, the changing nature of both the terms, whether it's law and justice, have undergone a change. We start from the Platonic concepts of justice. The inequalities between different sects of the communities, and then we go down and come to our times. It has gone a tremendous change, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, that it has basically come up with different kinds of narratives. When we look at it, actually, I see it as the justice, I see it as a gameplay between order and disorder. Order on the one hand and disorder on the other side. Who sets the norms of order and for whom the order is set, and whether there is any disorder. This has been a very, very complicated issue to see whether the things which have been set in order are in order from the perspective of the others, I mean, from whose perspective the things are in order. And then the order, disorder gameplay has always been the cornerstone of the justice everywhere, in all its contours, in all its forms. When we look at the National Reconciliation Order, some 10 years before, 15 years before, in our neighboring country, and then one of the dictators toppling the government and coming up with his own order and declaring everything down under as disorder. And to the point where we have reached the Ukraine and Russia conflict, and which has divided the whole world into different groups. I mean, whose order and what is the order?